A very good morning, students, and welcome back to your English class. Today, we are going to take a new poem, The Cow. The friendly cow, all red and white, I love with all my heart. She gives me cream with all her might to eat with apple tart. She wanders loving here and there, and yet she cannot stray. All in the pleasant open air, the pleasant light of day, and blown by all the winds that pass, and wet with all the showers. She walks among the meadow grass and eats the meadow flowers. Okay, and this poem, the poet Robert Louis Stevenson tells about the friendly cow which he had in red and white color. Okay, the friendly cow, all red and white, I love with all my heart. The speaker loved the poet. Sorry, the speaker loved his cow very much, which is in red and white color. She gives me cream with all her might. Here, cream means milk. Okay, it gives him milk to eat with apple tart. It is a small piece of pie. Okay. She wanders loving here and there, and yet she cannot stray. Okay, now what she does, she eats the grass and she will make the sound and she wanders, walk here and there, but she does not go anywhere else. All in the pleasant open air, the pleasant light of day, where it will rest in the open air on the daytime, and blown by all the winds that pass, and wet with all the showers. She will be in the she will be wandering outside. She will be wet means with wet with all the showers means she will get the sunlight. She will stay in the sunlight. She will stay in the rain. All she does is just stay there making noises, but she won't go anywhere. She walks among the meadow grass and eats the meadow flowers. And what the cow will do? It will walk among the meadow means a field covered with grass where animals used to gaze. Okay, now she will walk among the meadow grass, and what she will eat the flowers and grass in the meadow means the field. Okay, this poem is about the speaker's friendly cow which is in red and white color. He loves it very much, and what she will give him, it gives him milk. What it will do, it will wander in the meadow in pleasant open air, and what it will eat the meadow grass walking among the meadow. Okay, that's all about the poem. Okay, I will send you the question answer section through WhatsApp. Okay, let us move on to the next chapter. Okay, the next chapter is on page number 20. The title of the chapter is A Castle in the Air. Okay, the story is taken from the novel Swiss Family Robinson, written by Johann David Weiss. It is about a family from Switzerland on their way to Port Jackson in Australia. On the way, their ship is wrecked and they find themselves on a deserted island. They face many problems but discover a life of adventure and a new learning. The story is narrated by the father. This is a small story taken from the novel Swiss Family Robinson, which was written by Johann David Weiss. Okay, what is the story about? It's about a family who were traveling from Switzerland on their way to Port Jackson in Australia. Okay, what happened on their way? Their ship was destroyed and They find themselves on a deserted island and they face many problems there. But they discover a new life of adventure and new learning. Okay, here the father of the family is telling us the story. One fine morning, my family and I loaded all our bags on our animals and set out on our journey. My wife, our eldest son Fritz, and the animals, including our brave dogs, were followed by my youngest son Franz, seated on one of the donkeys. His brothers Jack and Ernest were taking care of the cattle, and I was supervising it all. Okay, what is happening in the story? Okay, the family is all set for their journey. Okay, who all are they in their journey? The father, the mother, the eldest son Fritz, the animals, which includes donkeys and brave dogs, his youngest son Franz, and brothers Jack and Ernest. Okay, now who is supervising them all? Supervising means taking charge, in charge of. Who is the supervisor? The father is the supervisor of all the family. He is supervising, he is in charge of all the family members and the animals that are going with them. After a long and hard day of travel, we finally arrived at the end of our journey. We were tired and needed a place to rest. I thought of making a tree house. Seeing a tall fig tree nearby, I decided to make a ladder of ropes as the branches of the tree were too high for us to reach. But before I could begin, dinner had been prepared. After dinner, I hung our hammocks and we went to sleep as we were too tired. Okay, now after long travel, what happened? They they have reached at the end of their journey. They are very tired. They all were very tired and they wanted to take rest. Now, what they thought, the father thought of making a tree house. Tree house means a house built on the trees. Okay, now they saw a tall fig tree, and what he decided to make a ladder of ropes. Ladder means, you know, to climb up the tree, they need a ladder, right? So he thought of making a ladder of ropes. Why? Because the branches of the tree were very high to it won't be able to reach there, so he thought of making ladder of ropes. But before I could begin, dinner has been prepared. Now before he was starting the work, what happened? The dinner had been prepared by his wife, so they had dinner and they hung on their hammocks on that night, and they slept because they were too tired of traveling. The next day, I took a strong bamboo shoot and made a bow and some arrows from it. Then I took a ball of thick thread and tied its end to one of the arrows. I shot the arrow and sent it directly over one of the lower branches of the tree. The arrow went over the branch and then fell to the ground. Taking the thread after it, after this, I hurried to complete my ladder. Okay, next day, what happened after waking up? He took a strong bamboo shoot. Shoot means a part of stem. He took strong bamboo shoot and he made a bow and arrows for shooting. And he made a bow and arrow from bamboo shoot. Now he tied a thick thread's end to one of the arrows and he shot the arrow to one of the lower branches of the tree. Now it went over the branch and then fell to the ground. And what he did, like that, he tied the rope onto the branch. I laid two long ropes on the ground and inserted some pieces of cane into knots which I had made in the ropes. In a very short time, our ladder was completed. We tied it to the end of the thread, which went over the branch and pulled the ladder up. Now, what he did, he has kept two long ropes on the ground and he inserted, means he put in some pieces of cane. Cane means it's also shoot of bamboo or some plants, stem of some plants. Okay, he had already made knots in the rope, so he inserted the stem into each knots. And what he made a ladder and he tied it to the end of the thread and he pulled the ladder, and they had made a ladder of ropes. Jack climbed up first and Fritz followed him with a bag of nails and a hammer. I followed them, carrying with me a large pulley. The pulley would help us raise some wooden boards from the ground. I placed the pulley on a branch above us. By the time we came down, dinner had been prepared. But climbed up first on the ladder of ropes. Jack climbed up first, and Fritz has followed him with bags of nails and hammer. Now, what they are going to do? They are going to make treehouse on the fig tree. Now, they carried a large pulley. Pulley means it's like a wheel you might have seen in your homes to take, or it is tied uh, onto the above the well to pull up water from the well. You might have seen that in your house. So they had a pulley with them. Now they tied the pulley above the uh, branch, and it helped them to pull the wooden boards from the ground. Okay, when they came down, the dinner was prepared by the mother and they had dinner. After dinner, we sat below the tree by the moonlight. After the evening prayers, I lit a fire and we all laid down to rest. After dinner, what they did, they sat below the tree. It was night, so by the moonlight, they had sit below the tree, and after doing the evening prayers, they lit a fire and they all went to take rest. Next morning, Fritz and I climbed up the ladder and we set to work. We lifted up the wooden boards which my wife brought to us. We placed them on the branches that were close to each other. What they did, next morning, Fritz and the father made the tree house. They lifted the wooden boards with the help of the pulley which his wife brought to him. And what they did, they placed the wooden boards on the branches close to each other to form a smooth and solid floor. So they had made the floor now. We raised a thick cloth like the ones that are used to make tents above the branches to form a roof. The huge trunk protected the back of our tree house, and the front faced the sea. After we lifted our hammocks and blankets by using the pulley, my son and I climbed down. Now they had taken a thick cloth which I used to that looks like the ones that I used to make tents, and they had put it about the branches to form the roof. There was a huge trunk on the fig tree, so it protected the back of their tree house. And where their tree house faced, it faced the sea. After lifting the hammocks and blankets using the pulley, the father and the son climbed down. By this time, dinner had been prepared. My wife took a large pot from the fire, which contained a good stew, and began serving to all of us. The dogs were tied to the roots of the tree, and we started our climb. My wife, three elder sons soon ran up the ladder, and my wife followed. My own journey was more difficult, thus, I had to carry Franz on my back. Once all of us were in the treehouse, we pulled the ladder up. We felt as safe in our treehouse as people living in ancient castles used to feel after the drawbridges were raised. Now, by this time, his wife prepared the dinner. What was there for dinner? They had a good stew. Now, their dogs were climbed to the tree, and after having dinner, they climbed up the tree. First, who climbed? The eldest sons had ran up the ladder. Then, who followed the eldest sons? His wife followed the eldest sons, and the father followed them by carrying Franz on his back. When they went up, what they did, they pulled the ladder up. Now they feel that they are very safe in their tree house. It is like what? Have you heard about drawbridges? Drawbridges means there are movable bridges that can be pulled up and lowered when needed. It is used in ancient times. They remembered about the drawbridges when they pulled the ladder up. Okay, that's all about the story. Okay, how they had made the tree house and how they lived there. That's all about the story now. I will send you the exercise section through WhatsApp. You have to do the fill in the blank section. Okay, I will send you only the answer the following questions. Okay, next is the grammar section. Let us look at the two common degrees of comparison. There are two common degrees of comparison. What are they? The comparative degree and the superlative degree. We use the comparative degree to compare two things or two people. Comparative sentences usually use than. She is taller than her husband. Now, what are the two most common degrees of comparison? One is comparative degree and the second is superlative degree. Okay, when we want to compare the degree between whether it is higher, greater or smaller, to compare the degree between two things or two people, which we use the comparative degree. Okay, comparative degree means comparative sentences usually use the word than. Here let us see an example. She is taller than her husband. Here we are comparing two people, she and her husband. Okay, when we want to compare two things, the degree compare the degree of two things or two people, which uh, degree of comparison we use? Comparative degree. We use the superlative degree to compare or to show the difference between more than two things or more than two people. Okay, you have understood where we use comparative degree to compare two things or two people. When we want to compare the difference between or show the difference between more than two people or two things, which we use superlative degree. If you want to compare between two things or two people, we use comparative degree, and if you want to compare between more than two things or two people, we use superlative degree. Superlative sentences usually use the. Here we have learned comparative degree usually uses the word than. Which word does superlative degree usually uses? Superlative sentences usually use the word the. Here let us see an example. Delhi is the biggest city in India. Okay. Rules to form comparatives and superlatives. Comparatives usually add R or ER to the main adjective. Superlatives usually add st or est to the main adjective. You have already learned what is adjective. Means the words to modify, words that modifies a noun. Okay, in comparative sentences, we usually add r or er to the main adjective. And what about superlatives? In superlative sentences, we usually add st or est to the main adjective. When an adjective ends in y and the I is dropped and an I is added before the er or est. Okay, example, happy. How do we use it in the comparative sentence? Okay, here happy, it ends with y. Now what will happen? We have to drop the y, and instead what we have to use? We have to use I here and add er. Okay, in comparative degree or comparative sentences, we add r or er to the main adjective. In superlative sentences, we add st or est to the main adjective. Okay, when an adjective ends with y, what we will do? We will drop the I, and instead which letter we will use? We will use I, and we will add er or est. If it is comparative, we will add er. If it is superlative, we add est. Some adjectives use more for the comparative and most for the superlative. For example, exciting. Okay, here are some adjectives. All adjectives does not add r, er or st, est. Instead, what we use? We use the words more and most. If it is comparative sentence, we use more before the adjective, and if it is superlative sentence, we use most before the adjective. For example, exciting, it is an adjective. In a comparative sentence, which word we use? More exciting, right? Okay, in superlative sentence, which we use? Most exciting. Okay, some adjectives don't follow any set pattern. They have irregular comparatives and superlatives. Few of them are listed below. Okay, these don't have such rules. These type of adjectives don't follow any set pattern, means comparative or superlative. Now you have to by heart this. Okay, put the adjectives within brackets in the correct form and fill in the blanks. Now you have to write the adjectives in the correct form. You have to fill in the blanks. There are 6 sentences here and you have to do it yourself. Do you know what homonyms are? Some words have the same spelling and pronunciation but different meanings. Such words are called homonyms. You have already learned about synonyms and antonyms. What are synonyms? Synonyms are words that have the similar meaning, and antonyms are the words that have opposite meaning. Here we are going to learn about homonyms. What are homonyms? Words that have the same spelling and pronunciation but they have different meanings. For example, cricket is a popular sport in India. Cricket is an insect like the grasshopper. Here both the words are cricket. They have the same pronunciation and same spelling, but the meaning is different. In first sentence, it tells about the popular sport in India. And the second sentence, cricket is an insect. Next is a crow is a blackbird. A cock will crow at sunrise. Both have different meaning but same spelling and pronunciation. And these words are called homonyms. Now choose the correct meaning of the underlined words based on the context. Okay, you have to do it yourself. Okay. Here some sentences are given. Okay, they are homonyms. There will be similar word with same spelling and pronunciation which has different meaning. But now after reading the content context, you have to identify the meaning and put the tick mark on the correct meaning. Okay, you have to do it yourself. Now take page number 27. Here is a format of a formal letter which is written by a student to a doctor. Okay, now look at how to form a formal letter, the different parts of formal letter. First you have to write the sender's address at the left top corner, then the date, then receiver's address, then word salutation, then message, then subscription and signature. Now this is the format for a formal letter. Okay, write a formal letter to a famous sports personality staying in your neighborhood, asking him or her to give a talk at your school on the importance of games and fitness. Okay, here this is a invitation in the form of a letter, formal letter written by a student to a doctor in her neighborhood. On what? Inviting to give a talk on health and hygiene to their class. Okay, now like that you have to write a formal letter to a famous personality, sports personality, which one is also in your staying in your neighborhood. On what? On asking him to give a talk at your school on the importance of games and fitness. Okay, you have to use the same format and you have to do it in your notebook. Okay, all for your classes today. Thank you.